If you still think people's egos are unbreakable, it's because you've never just stopped reacting. For real. Keep believing that while you keep stroking other people's vanities with replies nobody asked for, egos aren't tough. They're spoiled brats, like a tantrum-throwing kid who flips out when the spotlight vanishes. And guess what? Silence is like the dad who stepped out for a pack of smokes and never came back. Most folks think they're being real when they clap back, defend themselves, or explain everything. Cute. Truth is, they're just begging for validation while pretending it's their personality. It's not strength. It's neediness dressed up for a night out. And you, sitting there maybe feeling called out, are exactly who needs to hear this. If you can't stand your own quiet, you're living off everyone else's noise. Want to test if your silence is legit? Shut up! Completely. No shady subtweets, no side-eye begging for attention, no passive-aggressive essay, just dead air. And watch the show kick off. The other person squirms, throws shade, picks a fight. Not because you struck back, but because you had the nerve to not even respond. Their ego, used to being fed, goes into full meltdown mode. And there you were, thinking you had to argue your case. How adorable. Let's get real before you start romanticizing your own spinelessness. Egos only thrive on engagement. They need to be loved, hated, noticed, rejected. Whatever. As long as someone bites, then silence crashes in, this narrative killer, and yanks the rug out from under the party. Boom. The ego face plants. And for once, you don't have to lift a finger to watch the fallout. This isn't about winning arguments, playing mind games, or getting the last word. It's about not stepping into the circus where clowns battle for applause. Once you get that, you realize real power comes from not wasting your energy on people who need your reaction to feel alive. But before you pretend you've got it all figured out, remember why you're watching this. Not fate, not some divine sign. It was the algorithm, this cold, ruthless, sharper-than-you beast that only works if you feed it. So quit lurking like some deep thinker and do the bare minimum. Like, comment, subscribe. Drop a grateful, just to keep up that frustrated guru vibe like you're above it all. And now, after that ego yank with diamond-studded gloves, buckle up for the full emotional haymaker. Number 1. The ego needs a reaction to exist. The ego, buddy, isn't a lion. It's a starving pup that only survives when someone tosses it a treat. And what's that premium kibble? Your precious reaction. Disagreeing, debating, explaining it all feeds the beast. Without it, it wilts faster than a life coach's pep talk off stage. But since someone's always falling for it, let's break it down. Ego isn't confidence. It's not power. It's not presence. It's just insecurity dolled up as boss energy. That's why they poke, jab, dramatize, crank up the volume, not because they're in charge, but because they're desperate to see if they still get under your skin. Spoiler, if you're still responding, they do. And here's the part that'll sting the softies. When you disagree, you're saying, I heard you. When you justify, you're saying you matter. When you react, even out of rage, you're fueling the monster. A monster that starves in silence. Yeah, that quiet, classy, deadly thing. It doesn't fight, doesn't counter, doesn't cheer. It just flips the switch on the spotlight and walks away. Then the magic happens. The ego, unsure if it won, lost, or got straight up ghosted, short circuits. Because it can't live without an audience. It needs that still in the game vibe. No show without it. And without a show, the ego crashes. Not into battle, into panic. Battle still interaction. Panic's realizing it's not even worth your quiet. That's when the tables turn. When you go silent, not like you're bailing, but like you're canceling the gig for being irrelevant. That's when silence hits hard. Because it's not just no noise, it's full-on indifference. And that, my friend, is what most can't handle. Feeding drama's easy. The real challenge is staring down a jab, and not even deeming it reply-worthy. Number 2, why silence feels so uncomfortable. Silence bugs people not because it's loud, but because it refuses to clap. And your average human who thrives on reactions like a plant needs sunlight crumbles without that basic thumbs up. They crave signals, responses, any sign they're still impacting the room. When that vanishes, it's not the snub that hurts. It's the void where they expected to see their reflection. Cue the inner drama. The ego, with no reference point, turns into a Greek tragedy scriptwriter. Invents assumptions, reads silence as shade, projects rejections nobody confirmed. Because get this, getting rejected is still better than getting ignored. Rejection at least hands you a no. Silence. It delivers maturity, and that's luxury goods for drama addicts. Let's sketch it out. When you attack, they play victim. When you disagree, they got someone to scrap with. When you explain, they hijack the story. But when you shut up, bam, you wipe out their emotional GPS. And the ego, clueless if it lost, got forgotten or never mattered, spirals into a bad soap opera loop of desperation. And the funniest part? The more they try to fill the silence with chatter, jabs, and theories, the more they expose themselves. Shows their neediness, their anxiety, that they can't stand without your reaction propping them up. Silence isn't passive, it's refined. It's the luxury of not needing to prove squat. And that humiliates more than any direct hit, because silence doesn't offer relief. It doesn't wrap up. It doesn't fix. It leaves things hanging like, this ain't worth my time. And the ego throws a fit, because it can't tell if it won, lost, or got ignored from jump. And it's in that lack of need where the real discomfort lives. It's not that you didn't reply. It's that you didn't see any point in starting. And for attention junkies, that's the harshest verdict. Silent irrelevance. Number 3, weak silence versus strong silence. Not all silence is smooth. In fact, most reeks of bottled up desperation. Some folks shut up thinking they're mysterious, but they're just putting on a mute, needy show. That's weak silence, dressed as maturity, but inside it's ticking seconds, hoping to get noticed, rehearsing comebacks nobody wanted. Weak silence doesn't rattle anyone. It broadcasts insecurity. It's the I said nothing that screams, look at me, please. It's quiet theater begging for claps. And the other guy's ego, no dummy, sniffs it out quick. Pushes, tests, pokes. Because it knows behind that silence is someone dying to react. And where there's urge, there's an opening. Now, strong silence? That's emotional martial arts. It doesn't come from craving notice, but from zero need to be seen. It's not a pose, it's presence. Expects nothing, hopes for no impact, teaches no lesson. It just keeps going, and that's what disarms. The other ego swings at air and grabs nothing. No reaction, no crack. Strong silence is inner concrete. It doesn't shake, doesn't bite back, doesn't perform. So it leaves the other lost. No resistance means no fight. Anyone faking this without backbone just ends up looking like a silent fool. Rehearsed quiet cracks on the first test. The act flops. Every time. And here's the truth that hurts. The silence that wrecks another's ego isn't one you wield for effect. It's born when you no longer need to make waves. Pure absence of intent. Zero effort. Zero anxiety. And that's why it's unbearable for folks who only exist in your mirror. Once that clicks, the gap between shutting up out of conviction versus cowardice, the game shifts. Not because you moved, but because the other finally sees you're off the board. Number 4, the ego's slow meltdown. Egos don't blow up. They melt, oozing down the edges of their fake dignity. Start subtle. They act like they didn't notice your quiet, over-smile, force that fake chill that only fools Instagram believers into thinking it's real emotional health. But that cheap act fades fast. Curiosity creeps in. A casual dig. A passive-aggressive zinger. A funny guy line laced with superiority. But you, nada. Dry silence, not the kind that posts black background quotes. And then the spectacle ramps up. Restlessness takes shape. Voice rises, words tumble. They start explaining stuff you never asked. Whip up conflict from thin air just to pry a comma from your lips. Why? Because that needy little star complex ego can't handle an empty house. Each phase of this breakdown is prime psychological popcorn. The more you stay quiet, the more they bear it all. Anxiety, fear of fading, pathetic control grabs. Like flipping on harsh lights in a messy room, everything they hid shows up in embarrassing clarity. But the best is yet to come. When the ego realizes irony flopped, control attempts fizzled, and you're still rock solid in your unperformed silence. It freaks. Cue the drama, victim monologues. Direct shots dressed as honest vents. Clumsy flips of blame, lines like, "Funny how you ghosted," or "I was always the one who cared." Translation? Begging for a mirror. The ego craves any surface confirming it's still on stage. And that's where most screw up. Fall for the emotional trap, mistake jabs for set boundaries invites. How sweet. Little do they know, responding even maturely hands back the stage, spotlights mic. The meltdown only hits when you sit it out. It's a game where winning means not playing. Yeah, it takes ice in your veins. Watching someone unravel in front of your calm takes guts. But that's the discomfort no ego can stand. It needs you to cave, needs you to return the set. And when you don't, congrats. You didn't win a debate. You killed a dependency. With style and silence. Number 5, self-control, the armor of silence. We're at the spot where 90% tap out emotionally, thinking they're still in the ring. Let's be clear, silence without self-control is just jittery acting. The guy zipped lip, but eyes twitching, jaw clenched, brain scripting imaginary clapbacks with a 5-minute emotional shelf life. That silence doesn't scare it, amuses. The other ego spots it instantly. Not strength, just a dam about to burst. Real self-control isn't white-knuckling to not explode. It's losing the urge to explode, not hold back. It's eyeing the impulse and going, what a drag to indulge you. It's not needing to prove mastery because you're living it. From there sprouts armored silence, the kind not faking peace but swimming in it. This silence doesn't try to look wise, grown, or enlightened. It just sees no value in replying. And that dismantles any ego leaning on drama to stand. When a jab finds no friction, the game fizzles. No pushback, no surrender, just steady. And steady is kryptonite for emotional puppeteers. But of course, plenty mix self-control with cold detachment. Poor souls illiterate in maturity. Cold is shut down. Self-control is full presence without rush. Being whole while they try shredding you with bargain bin emotional plays. Watching manipulation attempts with the thrill of rain outside. Interesting, but not reaction-worthy. Master this, and silence becomes you. Stops being a tool, starts being identity. And then it weighs heavy. No emotional lever can budge someone immune to nudges. They rev up, you hold. They provoke, you persist. They tug, you stay put. And when the other ego sees no way in, no access, no breach in the armor, it folds, exposes itself, trips over its own needs. Because anyone failing to crack true silence ends up showing with every flop how brittle they are without your echo. Self-control isn't the shield, it's the skin. And when that hits, the game doesn't shift, it ends. You left the table, and they're still begging to deal. Number 6, when the ego loses its grip. Welcome to Meltdown Advanced Mode, the point where the ego realizes it's calling no shots and flips with desperate flair. Losing control isn't just annoying for it, it's humiliating. After all, it spent life thinking it could steer others with a snarky line or loaded glare. Now, with you hushed, it's a conductor with no band. In work vibes, that's hysterical micromanaging, demands masked as dedication and a barrage of side-eye feedback. In relationships, ego dresses as belated concern, care that only shows once you're not around to need it. The "how you been," reeking of nosiness faked as empathy, all rehearsed, all frantic, and in beefs, roller coaster city. One day, rude honesty, next a lame reconciliation, play-acting redemption. All aimed at one thing, sniffing if your emotional door's still cracked, if there's a sliver for ego to slide back into boss mode. But here's where silence shines genius. It doesn't trigger these, it unmasks. Unmasks folks who can't exist without reins, who need to set your pace to feel relevant. No stage from you, and ego skids. Tries yanking you into their feels field, where they always win. Except this time, you opt out. And that opt-out isn't cocky. It's no need. You don't confront, don't conquer, just don't bite. Boom. Power flips. No yells, no scenes, no speeches. Just your vibe intact. Ego senses it, but can't prove squat. And that drives it nuts. No clear loss moment. Just the gut wrench of fading pull without why. Cue the exposure fest. They overshare, overdo, stumble reclaiming reins. Become the villain in their own directed mess. At this stage, silence isn't response, it's mirror. And the harder they push, the clearer their flop shows. Not because you crushed them, but because you didn't even bother joining. And when someone clocks they can't drag you to reaction turf, they start losing grip on themselves. That's ego crumble. Not from assault. From the harshest void, yours. Number 7. The mistake of turning silence into arrogance. Ah, the classic. Guy discovers silence's power and next day struts like he's beyond good and evil. Stops reacting, sure, but seals his face, stance, humility, and common sense too. Starts wielding silence as punishment, not structure signal. And poof, grace turns to show and respect to pushback. Let's clarify. True silence is light. No tension. No looking down. No straining to seem better. Arrogant silence stinks of puffed ego posing as Zen master. Hard eyes, stiff body, that passive-aggressive vibe of thinking not yelling equals enlightenment. But the other ego ain't dumb. It senses when silence is core and when it's rehearsal. Night and day. Guess what? The act invites scraps. True strength quiets attacks. Arrogant quiet draws digs, jabs, trials. Nobody respects fake elevation without roots. Arrogance pings everyone's radar. And here's the sweetest trip-up. When you shut up to wound, to show you don't need, to teach lessons you're not strong. You're needy. Needy for superiority. Needy for fear-masked claps. Needy to seem unshakable because inside you're still proving points. The dude who truly gets silence doesn't turn marble statue. Stays present, but not on call. Chill, but not distant. Solid, but not iced. Doesn't freeze the room, just doesn't fuel it. Because he knows, silence as wall ain't filter, it's block. And blocks spark resistance. That's why so few hold silence long. Not skill shortage, but ego overload. The same ego they pretend to dismantle. When silence flips arrogant, it loses what made it unbearable. Natural flow. And boom, you're back in emotional games. Just now with statue face and reactive soul. Number 8, don't use this for evil. Before you wrap this up feeling like an emotional chess grandmaster, a classy warning with slap flavor. Silence wasn't built to be revenge in disguise. When you deploy it to hurt, punish, or cage feelings under wisdom cover, you're not quiet. You're manipulating with silk gloves and needy core. And here's the tastiest bit. Using silence to cause keeps you chained to the game. Still tracking impact, rooting for reactions, gauging discomfort like drama check-ins. That's not control. It feels addiction in a tie. True silence wants no payback, collects no side effects, cheers no breakdowns. because it ain't here to win debates. It's there because you finally clocked you don't need to star in anyone's emotional soap or your own if it's ego-pumped. Weaponizing silence is like gold-plating a moldy basement. Still neediness, just fancy wrapped. Worst, it addicts. You crave silence's effect and start living for the other's squirm as reply. Guess what? You lost. The goal was never ego demolition as entertainment. That's for folks still proving they leveled up. Real deal is escaping ego cages, theirs and mainly yours. If you need to wreck someone to feel solid, you're confessing weakness in bold print. Clean silence ain't attack, it's disinterest. Doesn't teach, impose, or win battles born from your validation itch. It just doesn't play, and that's why it hits. Use silence as is, filter, not whip. Shield, not poison, because the guy needing another's pain to stand firm signs a high-interest deal, his own fancy, but still broke emotional dependency. Number 9, lethal close. We've hit the end, and here's the final lesson. The one splitting emotional grown-ups from noisy kids. The silence no ego can stand isn't a switch, a slick move, or Instagram Zen theater. It's the natural vibe of someone who finally gets they don't need to explain to exist. While you were still debating, defending, arguing, chasing, understanding, the other ego breathed easy, in control, on stage, with fans. But the day you truly hushed, not fleeing, but opting out, was the day their ego started crumbling. Not from your strike, but from you vanishing as their crutch. Egos live on noise, crave clashes, tension, relevance, need your bite, even disagreement. When that dips, it's forced to face the void where attention used to be. And that void ain't neutral, it's eating away. Because it doesn't yell, it ghosts, and ghosting beats hurting. It's wordless. You don't matter anymore. The raw truth is so uncomfortable, many label instead of face. Call your silence cold, cocky, manipulative. Sure, easier to accuse dirty play than admit they lean too long on your reactions to feel real. But you're out that ring. No more fights, no lessons taught, no proving growth. You don't aim to shred their ego. You just stop propping any, not even yours. Real authority, that alpha stance they ape with quotes and puff chests ain't measured in volume or quick comebacks. It's in absence. Absent need, absent strain, absent entry. And that's what yanks the floor from folks who needed your mirror to breathe. In the end, it's not your silence that stings. It's what it exposes. You don't need anyone to stay whole. And that, buddy, is unbearable for anyone who only learned to exist through others.